Now, as I selected the standard here, you might have noticed that the student, that I'm actually able to add an assignment. So when I click Add Assignment, um, I can see the grade level that I was just working in, the domain that I was just on the last screen, as well as the standard that I selected. And I can see all of my students once again sorted according to their level of progress for this particular standard. And I can actually add assignments for all of my students. So if this is a standard we're working on in Dreambox or working on in the classroom and I want them to work on it in Dreambox, they can do so by using this what we call Assign Focus feature. So I can determine which students get this assignment. So maybe I want my kids in all 3 categories to get this assignment. And Dreambox is going to use the data that we've collected about each student to pick the right level of lesson for the students. So Charlie, Mamie, and Roxana, because they haven't started this lesson this standard just yet, are going to get 2 just started lessons that are going to introduce the topic. My 4 students in the Standard in Progress category are going to get 2 in progress lessons that are going to be right along with what Dreambox is going to give them anyway. And those in the Proficient in Standard category are going to get a review lesson to help increase their fluency. If they do well on that review lesson, then that's the only assignment that they will see. But if they struggle through that review lesson, then we'll give them an additional lesson to help increase their understanding of this topic. So I get to decide which students get this assignment, and I can click the Add Assignment button. I can make 2 assignments for my students every 7 days in Dreambox, and students do have a period of 7 days to complete this assignment. Now, from the student view, students are actually going to see, and you'll have to excuse me because the screenshot that I have is actually from the 3rd through 5th grade learning environment, but your students will see a little circles for their lessons. In 3rd through 5th grade learning environment, they have little lesson cards like this, but every student will see this little icon here for the assigned lesson. So that would appear on the corner of on the edge of the circles that students see in the K through 2 learning environment. Students would click on the circle that has the blue icon on it, and it would open up the very first lesson in their assignments. We're going to collect data on how that student has played through that lesson, and that will help us determine what the second lesson needs to look like. Does it need to be a step forward, or does it need to be a step backward? So we're still holding true to the nature of Dreambox and adapting forward and backward even when they get teacher-assigned lessons. Now, after an assignment has been completed by the student, you all as teachers can actually go into the Assign Focus tab that I'm in here. So I was in a classroom, I went to the Assign Focus tab, and I can review the data on that tells me how the students played through that lesson. So I'm actually going to go scroll down on this page. And one of the lessons that I had my students complete recently was building columns on a hundreds chart. Okay. So now I can see, for example, that Doris here did complete the assignment. It took her 5 minutes to complete that assignment, and she got a review lesson. She did pretty well on that review lesson, and so that is actually the only lesson that she was given because she did well on that lesson, and she was already working on the highest level lesson. If I want to see that lesson, then I can click the More button to actually view that lesson and play through it with my students. Now, if a student is not demonstrating understanding, like Mamie here, she did not complete the whole assignment. She spent 5 minutes on the first lesson. She got a progressing lesson, and I can see that gray check mark there that tells me that she did not demonstrate understanding. She also did not work through this second assignment. I can click the More button to see the lesson that she worked on, and I can even bring this up and play this with her, with a group of students, or even have the whole class play it together. Okay. So I have a couple really great questions that have come through, and I want to just show you a couple things that are going to answer those questions. So first question, so if you want a student to work on assigned activities, you have to check to see if they clicked it, and they can skip it or they can go to a choice instead, correct? So yes, that is actually correct. So we do still have an element of student choice. So they will see the lesson that you assigned as well as their other lessons. Now I can tell you that I've played this in my own student account at the kindergarten through second grade level, and I did try to avoid student lessons. What it did is as I completed those other lessons and didn't go into the teacher assigned lesson, it would actually not present me with other options eventually. So sometimes that will kind of kick in because we'll notice that students are avoiding that teacher assigned lesson. So we will try to coax them into completing those teacher assigned lessons. Now, there are a couple questions about lesson type, what it means for progressing, and then review lesson. So there actually is going to be a key here at the top of the Assign Focus tab. So a progressing lesson means that that's just the students already had some experience with that standard, and so we're just going to focus on where they left off when they were already experiencing that standard in Dreambox. A review lesson means that they've completed all of this content already. They've moved on to other stuff, but we're going to take them back into that lesson again to get an extra review of that particular content. Okay, so those are some really great questions about Assign Focus, and we've got some keys here to help you understand the data. Also, if you have further questions about Assign Focus, there is a support article here that's just nested right in the middle.